going. Hello and welcome. My name is Aura Vasquez. Welcome to Aura's VTH virtual town halls. I have designed these times to get to know other people that are running for office, important topics, politics, and all other topics that might be of our interest to our community. Today, I am super excited to have a guest that I know because her and I serve at the Legal Conservation Borders. She's a fellow environmentalist. And I'm super excited to have here Anais Medina. And she is running for Rio Hondo, which you're going to walk us through all of that in just a second. And she's running for College Board of Trustees, which is actually a pretty important position, but not a lot of people know what it even is. So first, let me welcome you. Welcome to our
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So tell us let's just begin by share with us a little bit of your story and who you are and why you're running for office.
Well, thank you, Ada, so much for giving me this platform and for inviting me to speak with you today. A little bit about me. Well, my name is Anais Medina Diaz. My husband's name is Diaz. But I am the first in my family to graduate from college. My parents are immigrants. My dad's from Guanajuato. My mom's from Michoacan. And being the first daughter in the family, I had a lot of expectations riding on me. And so I went to the University of Laverne out of high school, and I also went to the Rio Hondo College to supplement my education. I went into communications. I did news for a few years, and then I worked at the University of Laverne as well. And then I got my master's at USC. In strategic public relations. I also got a certificate in public policy. And while I was doing my master's back in 2016 to 2018, I was also for which was one of the main organizations that helped spearhead the Safe Clean Water program. So we did a lot of outreach throughout the county and worked with many organizations that we all know. So Become Beautiful, Tree People, and Scope. All of these organizations help reach out to our diverse constituents and make sure that their needs were met with the Safe Clean Water program, which was then passed as Measure W back in 2018. And after that, I went to work for a public health agency as a public information officer. So communications has always been something I wanted to do, but I want to make sure that I'm giving back to my community while I'm doing it. And so that was a way. And now I'm running for Rio Hondo Community College for Trustee Area 1, which specifically represents El Monte. For those of you who are not aware where Rio Hondo sits, it comprises of El Monte, Whittier, Pico Rivera, also Santa Fe Springs, Norwalk. All of this area is kind of like the SGV.
Like southeast. So if people are not familiar with any of the cities that you're mentioning, they're like on the downtown LA, southern east part.
Okay, so just think of the 10 freeway and the 605. I know that we all orient ourselves with our car freeways, but that's kind of where it is. It's like a little bit of the gateway cities and a little bit of the East LA kind of area. So that's the area that it serves, and it's a very important position. So the trustee that held this position before was actually our director of County Parks and Rec, Norma Garcia. She's a huge champion for our parks. Before her was Andre Quintero, which was the mayor for El Monte. And before him, it was Supervisor Hilda Solis. So, this position, this seat has helped a lot of our communities, but especially in El Monte. And I think that's why it's really important to make sure that the needs of the city and that a person that reflects the community is serving on that seat.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so people know what a college is. Some people have attended college. I'm also in the generation of being the first ones in my family, in my immediate family, to go to college. But I don't think a lot of people know what board of community college is. So can you just walk us through what do you guys do? Like when you get elected, when you become a trustee or a board member for a college, It's not just community college, but a college. What's your role? What do you do?
Yeah, so as a trustee on a college board, you're there to advocate, one, for the needs of the community that you represent. So this one is specific; it represents kind of different areas. But you're also trying to build partnerships with the communities that you serve, and also, other elected officials within the area. So if I were to be elected, I would want to continue to foster that relationship between our feeder school districts that go to college. So what that means is, we want our children to go to college, a community college, because one, it's more affordable, and two, four-year university isn't always a choice. It isn't always a pathway, but a community college also offers programs in the trades. So it's a great resource for, students who go out of high school, maybe like older adults. My mom was a mid-career professional who also went to community college and was able to transfer to get her four-year, degree. So as a board member, you're kind of, one, working with the local feeder school districts to, again, build that pathway towards higher education, but also working with, the supervisor's office, with the city that you represent, to provide resources so that our students can be successful. A lot of our students are suffering right now because of COVID. They're isolated, they're going through mental health issues, they're experiencing homelessness, food insecurity. And as a board member, you can build partnerships to meet those needs. And then, of course, you're also the fiscal responsibility for the board. That's, some of the main things. So essentially, one, you're advocating, and two, you're building partnerships to meet those needs.
Yeah, and also, I mean, in terms of the environment, and for folks that are watching, you guys know that I'm a big environmental justice advocate, and community college, in general, colleges have so much influence on also being carbon free or going to 100% renewables, at least in Los Angeles. The board of trustees voted to make sure that all of campuses were going to be net zero. So that's also super important. So board of trustees also get to vote on all of these important, like, contracts and all these things that are so important. And sometimes we don't see them. It's not so sexy, to talk about these things. But I mean, you will be holding such an incredible space also for maybe more small businesses, or more businesses that are owned by people of color. Which, when you guys, and for those of you that are watching, when you start putting all of these things together, that's when it adds up to something. So we need good representatives that are, looking out for our interests, that share the same values, at least that I share, for advancement of people that often don't have a voice, or, the environment or other things. So what are your main priorities that you want to achieve when you get elected to board member for the community, for the college board?
Yes. So I mentioned, one of them was to continue the relationships between our local school districts and the Rio Hondo Community College. So again, to improve our enrollment for our students. Not a lot of them are going to school. Only, like 13% of residents in El Monte have a higher education, like a bachelor's degree. That's what I mean. And only 1% of women have a master's degree in El Monte. So there's a lot of room for improvement. So that's one of the things I would like to do. Secondly, I want to improve increase programs and certifications in the environment, in the sciences, in the water, in communications, not just academically, but also for the trades. I think that in recent years, the county has passed these very progressive policies, Measure M, Measure W, and all of those have some kind of funding for job training. And, I've envisioned Rio Hondo being a place where people can get that kind of training and pathway. And then secondly, I want to make sure we're providing the resources for our most underserved students, low income students, people of color, older returning students, and people who have disabilities. My brother, he has Asperger's, and it was really hard for him to find a path in college, but he found the resources that he needed. And, sometimes that is a little not seen, right? Your ability and your disability, and making sure that those needs are also met. And of course, like you mentioned, as a board member, you're also there to advocate to be more environmentally conscious. And our communities here in this area have definitely been affected by policies that affect our way of life. So being able to create a college environment that is environmentally friendly, environmentally conscious is definitely a goal.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. And for those that just joined, welcome. I'm speaking with Anais Medina Diaz. She is running for Rio Hondo, a school board of trustees, actually college board. The school board is more like not college, but college board of trustees. I know there's so many positions that we actually don't really know much about. So I'm always very excited to bring people conversations where they can learn something new and participate. Also, because, as a person of color and as an immigrant myself, I didn't grow up in this country. I wasn't very exposed to people in decision-making positions, So I really try to bring my community to meet all of you future leaders or leaders of today so that we can build relationships with you guys, because that is so important. Who your network, and understand also the political process is so important. So I'm so excited that you're here. And for those of you that are watching, please post your questions on the comments for Anais if you want to just learn more about who she is or her role. Well, I'm especially curious about what's the makeup of the board right now, because we see in so many places, like for example in Los Angeles, and this is not so much at the college level, I don't think. Well, at the college level, we just got elected like the only African American representative to our school board. So so these things, representation really matters. And maybe you can share with us a little bit about how many people are enrolled, who are your students, the students that you want to represent, and what's the makeup of the board, so that we can get kind of like a clear picture of why it's so important to help you get elected.
Yeah, that's a great question. So currently the school has about 15,000 full-time students. Those are, a lot of the students that come in right after high school, that are fully enrolled. And a lot of them are Latino students, because these are the communities that are in this area. And the other thing is that there's a lot of immigrant students as well. So I think that the school has done a great job in kind of tailoring to our DACA students, making sure they have the resources that they need or the help that they need. And as far as the board does reflect the population of the students. They're all mainly Latino, from what I know. There are 4 women on that board, one male. So I think, I'm sorry. There are 3 women on that board, 1 male. There's the MTC, and it used to be Norma Garcia. But I think that's why it's important to have not just women of color, but young women of color, because the decisions that are happening now will affect our kids in the future. I have a little boy, and I want to make sure that he has the same opportunities that I had, and not just my son. My cousins, my uncles, my brothers. They're all in that age where they can go to college to receive a higher education. Maybe the academics is not their pathway, but like I mentioned, Rio Hondo can also provide a trade pathway. So I think that that's why it's important for the makeup of the board to reflect the community, but also keep that in mind. Like these are the things that our students are going through, that they're suffering, that the issues that they're facing, and then they're asked to learn in a very foreign environment. They're all learning from home. So I think that the school is doing a good job, but of course, there's always room for improvement, especially with COVID. A lot of students are like, I got to help out my parents. I can't afford college. And so that's why it's really important for someone from this community who knows these struggles to advocate for free college and to advocate for these resources for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also important. At the beginning of the pandemic last year, I saw an article about students that are in the community college that are homeless, that they cannot afford an apartment near their school, or they just couch surfing. They're trying to figure it out, how to continue attending school. And I went to a community college myself. I was, just moved to this country, and I was still learning English. I didn't have much. And at the community college was the place where I felt at home, because there were so many other students like myself that either were immigrants or were first generation or went to schools that were not so great. And the community college, it holds such a beautiful space for all of us that are trying our best to get ahead, and everything is really not working on our favor. So what's your take on this situation where we have students that have to choose to help their parents, like you mentioned, which was such a powerful reminder, at least for myself, that a lot of us young people have to support our parents, and or students that are homeless. So is this something that also in your school, in your college district, is pretty pronounced?
Oh yes, I think that we're seeing a lot of homelessness. I mean, we're right, the Rio Hondo, right, the river. We see a lot of homeless students, people in the Rio Hondo riverbed. And fortunately for the city of Belmonte, they've been really at the forefront of providing housing for our homeless people, especially the veterans. And I think that there is an opportunity here in El Monte to meet the needs of our homeless populations, specifically our students. If elected, what I would like to immediately do, like a short-term solution, is maybe even provide like a parking program where, they can park at the school, maybe have resources to take a shower, just be safe. Like just provide a safe space so that they can continue to go to college, to earn an education, so that they can, excel in their life. I think long term, of course, we can start working with at the congressional level, at the state level, and our supervisor, to provide these kinds of resources, to build housing for them. The school already provides, like Chromebooks and internet, so that's a step forward. But definitely, I believe in the city of El Monte that they are wanting to meet the needs of our homeless student population. But on the short term, that is a way that I think that we can meet their needs right now, especially during COVID, so that they're safe and they can continue their studies.
Thank you for that. It's refreshing to hear that you also have those students that are probably the most vulnerable in mind. It's so important that, like I said, there is so many of us that have dreams and want to fulfill our dreams, and sometimes we just don't know where to turn to. So I'm so glad that you're there to kind of support these people's journey. So what do you do? Tell us more about. I'm curious. I know that you have a family, so maybe you can tell us a little bit about your family and how hard or how easy it has been for them to also be part of your campaign. I know that oftentimes we don't talk about these things because we try to keep it very professional in the political world, but these things really matter,
Yeah.
And for women, it's sometimes really hard to run, because you tell us how has been your experience running for office as a Latina mom and a wife.
Well, I have all the story. I was just mentioning this to a coworker the other day. Like this space is not meant for people of color, young people of color. It's not. Like you mentioned, I am married. I have a little 9-month-old. He's growing very quickly. But it has been a challenge, especially with COVID. So the limits of having you have a village, but you can't really use that village in COVID because, you want to stay safe. So I've been lucky to have my mother-in-law and my mom to, help me with my son on the weekends, but it's just like a never ending day, right? My husband is also my campaign manager. So we'll wake up.
That's cute.
We wake up at 6 a.m. with our son waking us up, and then we get to work, our regular work. And then after that, after my workday is over at 4:30, I spend a few minutes with my son, and then I'm on the phones calling our residents from 5 to 7. And then after that, I'm working on other campaign stuff or work that I didn't get to. So it's just been like that. for the past 2 months. So it's
Yeah.
been exciting and exhausting. But other than that, I'm also like worried about like my full-time job. I'm worried about trying to provide, food for my son. I'm also nursing. So
Yeah.
all of these like stress factors factor into that. So to say the least, it has been tough, but I know that it's going to be worth it, because even if I don't get elected, I know that I spoke to some parents and I've heard their concerns. I've connected them with people at the community college level so that they can, continue going to college or help their students or help their children. So I'm very excited to have gone through this. Maybe it was not the best. COVID just definitely, exacerbates a lot of the issues, but it's a tough situation to run during COVID, to run as a young mother, to run, like I mentioned, it's a space where you need the networks, you need a lot of money to reach these residents, and we don't have that generational wealth. We
Yeah.
don't have, that network that a lot of some of the other, candidates may have. We have to start from scratch, right?
Absolutely. I can
Um,
relate completely because I couldn't even call my high school friends because I didn't
yeah.
really have high school friends here in the United States. And the ones that I knew at the beginning when I first moved to this country have been, gone to other many different places. So I totally agree. And this is why, for those of you that are watching, and I see some comments here on Facebook, it's so important that we have women of color representing our interests in all levels of government. This is not just Congress, which is very glamorous and exciting and flashy, but also at the local level where we can make the most influence. And I love what somebody's saying here, that women of color who run for office understand the needs of solving issues like climate change, like homelessness, like bringing resources to people that are in most need. And for us young women, it's even more difficult. Like I'm a 42-year-old woman. I don't have children. And I just don't even know if that would happen. How would it even fit my life, right now? So it takes all of us to make sure that the people that want to do that are supported and have the things that they need to get there. So how can we support you?
Well, Anna, we're almost there at the very end. This is the last weekend before Election Day on March 2nd. And there's a few ways you can help. One, you can sign up to phone bank our residents. We've already identified people who will vote for us, but because it is a special election, a lot of people don't feel the urgency or they're not aware of the election. So it's really about reaching them. We can't usually do like a traditional campaign would look like you're canvassing, knocking on doors. Because of COVID,
Right.
you can't do that. So it's also a very expensive campaign, right? The way to reach
Yeah.
them is through mail, through text banking, through social media, robocall. All of this costs a lot of money. So if you can't canvass, if you can't phone bank and you can't help us, like this weekend, we're literature dropping. You don't have to talk to any residents. All you got to do is place a door hanger on somebody's like.
How can somebody register or sign up to volunteer to donate?
Okay, you can volunteer or you can donate on my website, which is anaisforrealhondo.com.
Anais for Rio Hondo. I'm gonna post it right now. Anais for Rio Hondo.com.
Yeah, and if you can, if you're in a position to give, a little bit goes a long way. Even if it's $10, $20, $50, if you can give 100, that's great. But again, a lot of us don't have the resources. We don't have the network. And even in our own network, people don't realize how expensive a campaign can be and the amount of work and resources that it takes. And it's hard to get that through. So those are ways that you can help. If you cannot canvass, if you cannot phone bank, you don't have the time, a donation will also go a long way.
Yeah, guys, because for grassroots candidates like ourselves, what matters is two things that makes a winner, guys. Organized people and organized money. And as we discussed, when we don't have that institutional wealth, when we don't have like friends that we don't have a roster of people that we can call and they can sign checks like no big deal. We need you to step up and do the things that we can potentially not pay for. So phone calls, texts, and it's fun. And you get to meet so many cool people that are also involved and like really have a sense of community. I actually found that a lot of people, when I ran for city council, a lot of people that volunteer for my campaign keep coming back. We actually started like a group because it was like a big sense of community for us, which was really important. And in these times of COVID, when everybody can just hop in a Zoom or in a Slack or all of those tools that we have, it couldn't be easier now to connect with folks and also support really good people run our area. So I do believe that everything is interconnected. So if you can, please support Anais. It doesn't matter how small you think it is, even if it's $5, it goes in such a long way. I mean, like she shared, you have to purchase like flyers and like systems and so it's a lot, but I think we can all do it together, and I definitely commit to support Anais with a donation. So if you guys can also, please go to the website, and it's Anais for riohondo.com. Okay, let me see if anybody okay, we got somebody that will phone bank for you from Tucson, Arizona.
Awesome.
Thank you. That will be awesome. Thank you for supporting these efforts. We'll like really appreciate it. Well, so I like to end my live streams with something fun to learn a little bit more. I have been really thinking about these ideas of elected officials that we have and who do we think deserves to represent us. And for a really long time, it was your very white male, with the suit and the lawyer. And those were the people that we thought were the best for us, to represent us in all levels of government. I actually believe that now the people that look like us, that sounds like us, that have our shared values, that understands our struggles are the ones that should be representing us, and people that are going to be willing to fight for us. So for that, we need to just get to know people a little more in a much more relaxed setting. So what do you love to do when you're not campaigning or when you're not working?
Yeah. Well, I haven't been able to because of COVID, but I love playing soccer. I used to play. My parents put me in a sport. My dad loves soccer. So back in the 5th grade is when I started. Even after, as an adult, I started playing like in the Baldwin Park League, which is an adult league around here. And then COVID happened. So, it kind of stopped. But I really look forward to that because to me, that's a great stress reliever. And it's just a lot of fun for me. Like it keeps me fit. Another active thing that my husband and I like to do are triathlons. So we would spend our weekends just like training at Benelli Park, which is out in the East San Gabriel Valley. We have we just go on bike rides down the Rio Hondo. So it's just a way to like keep goals in mind, but also de-stress. And so I really miss that a lot, and I can't wait to get back to it.
That's beautiful. I mean, people know about me that I love nature and I love going out and hikes and discover hot springs and road trips, but I'm actually quite the dancing queen. So I love dancing, and every time like I'm in phone calls and meetings and Zooms all day, but in between, whether I'm cooking my lunch or something, I'm kind of dancing and playing music. And every time I can, I try to squeeze a little dancing there. So I love that.
I do that too. We'll like start dancing in the kitchen with my son Maceo, and he just absolutely loves it. So hopefully he comes out like a dancer. Take me out dancing.
Well, I hope that when all of this is said and done, and when we're celebrating your win, we get to dance again when COVID restrictions are lifted and we're all safe and in better shape to get together. But it's been so lovely to have you and to just get to know you better and see, your priorities and what you're running.
Thank you, Otto. Thank you so much for, again, providing this platform. And it was really nice to just have a conversation. you don't really get to interact with a lot of people because of COVID. So it's really great. And thank you everyone who was able to join us. And thank you so much for, in advance for either volunteering or donating. It goes a long way. It's almost there. We're almost there, but thank you so much.
And I'm gonna share this video and on my Facebook page and also my Instagram and everywhere else, on Twitter. It's even on Twitch and on YouTube. So we'll get it out there so that more people can get to know who you are.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Aura.
All right, we'll talk very soon. Bye.
Bye.
So that was Anais. And thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope that we get to continue the conversation offline, but of course on social media, and that you get to support Anais in this last stretch for the election that is coming up for her. I hope everyone has a wonderful Friday. Stay safe, wear your mask, and I see you all very soon. Bye-bye.